There are people who left long ago but still remain, standing silently in a shadowed corner of memory. There are sounds, inaudible to others, yet enough to keep someone awake all night. And there are wells, buried under layers of earth, yet their waters still flow within dreams. Tin returned to his hometown after 20 years, thinking he'd find some peace in the golden rice season. But after just one night, he realized he wasn't the only one who had come back. People say, when a well is buried, the water vein dies. But what if that vein isn't water, but memory? Or a restless soul? Do you believe that a cursed well could still whisper beneath the ground? The bus stopped at the edge of the village. The sun was harsh, dust trailing in long swirls with the wind. Tin pulled his backpack down from his shoulders, eyes fixed on the red dirt road ahead, his throat tightening. The bamboo fence is still here, just like when I was a kid. Grass grew in short tufts on both sides. His grandmother's old house sat nestled between yellowing rice fields. The door was half closed. The tiled roof had faded. Cracks ran across the porch bricks like the wrinkled skin of the elderly. He stepped slowly into the yard, his feet crunching dry leaves into fragments. The neighbor's dog spotted him, barked excitedly, and ran in circles. It paused, sniffed Tin's legs, then lay flat on the ground, wagging its tail. I've been gone 20 years. And you still remember me? He sat on the porch step, leaning against an old wooden pillar. In his mind, a picture formed, his mother, frail, slicing water spinach in the kitchen corner. Then his father, a tall, lean man who used to lift Tin onto his shoulders on cool afternoons. Mom's gone. Dad disappeared too. All that's left is this house. And now that I'm back, it just feels so empty. A breeze from the rice field brushed his face, cool and calming. The village air was the same, quiet, slow, but soothing to the soul. Tin stood and walked around the back of the house. The old well, where he once washed his face and fetched water, was now just a flat patch of earth, covered with sand and stones. Sparse grass grew over its surface. He stood still for a moment, eyes locked on the cracked, dry soil. There was a sound of running water, faint, trickling. He tilted his head. It was clear, the sound of someone pouring ladles of water down the well. Huh? This place was sealed up over 10 years ago. The sound abruptly stopped. Silence. The atmosphere suddenly froze. Even the sparrow that had been chirping on the branch fell quiet. He stepped back twice, face tightening. He wasn't sure if he'd really heard it, or if he was just tired. From the side of the house came the sound of slippers dragging on the ground. Tin turned to see a middle-aged man in a faded t-shirt, holding a shovel, walking toward him. Tin, is that you? Yes, and Ben? Yeah, took me a while to recognize you. You were just a kid back then. Now look at you, all grown up. I just came back. Mom passed 2 years ago. I didn't make it in time to see her one last time. I heard. I was on duty at the commune then. Your family moved to Saigon when you were a teen, and nobody really saw you after that. How long are you staying this time? I don't know. There are some things I need to find out. About what? About my father. Do you remember him? Of course. Mr. Bay went missing around 97, right? They said he went out to the fields and never came back. My mom told me, if I wanted the truth, I had to come home and ask Mrs. Tam Hong at the end of the village. Mrs. Tam? She's still alive. She sells betel near the village market now. She knows everything, sometimes even more than the people involved. I'll visit her. By the way, that well behind the house, do you remember when it was sealed? A long time ago. After your grandfather died, some folks decided to fill it in. Said the place had too much bad energy. Why are you asking? I just heard water flowing down there. Must have been the wind blowing through the rainpipe. I'm not sure, but it sounded very real. And Ben stayed silent. He looked at Tin, then at the patchy grass-covered spot. The wind swept through the rice, rustling softly. The sun was still blazing. He leaned on his shovel and spoke half-mindedly. If you really want to know what happened back then, start with Mrs. Tam. Whatever she tells you, listen carefully. Some things, the deeper you dig, the harder it is to sleep at night. The next morning, The sun had just risen. The sidewalk coffee still smelled like it did in childhood. A few old men sat around a stone table playing chess, pipes of strong tobacco curling under the eaves. Tin walked from one end of the village down to the market, eyes tracing every old house. Everything looked strangely familiar yet unfamiliar. By the old tamarind tree, an elderly woman was crouched behind a small wooden stand, swiftly smearing lime on beetle leaves. "Are you Mrs. Tam Hong? Who's calling me?" "It's me, Tin, lone son, grandson of Aunt Tu who used to live near you." "Oh, the little boy who used to swim shirtless in the well? Good heavens, you've grown so much. I just came back yesterday. My mother told me, if I wanted to know about my father, I should come find you." "You mean your father, Mr. Bay?" "Yes. Come here. Don't just stand there getting scorched in the sun." Tin sat on a low plastic stool. Mrs. Tam handed him a glass of iced tea she had ready. "Your father, when he disappeared, the whole village was buzzing with gossip. But the ones who knew the truth didn't dare speak. Back then, I only ever heard your mom crying every night. No one understood why Mr. Bay left in the middle of that night." "Did you see him that night?" "I did. My eyes were still sharp then. Around 1 a.m. I heard footsteps in wooden clogs passing through the yard. I peeked out and saw him standing in front of your mother's house. He didn't knock, didn't say a word, just stood there like he was waiting for someone to open the door. And then, by morning, he was gone. That night, there wasn't even any rain, but there were clog prints pressed deep into the grass behind the house." "Did my mom ever say anything?" "Not a word. From that day on, her face changed, like someone who had lost their soul. A few months later, she packed up and took you to Saigon. Did you keep anything? Something that belonged to my dad?" "I did, but not on purpose. When I helped your mom clean up to move, I found a small wooden box under the old bed, just the size of a hand, locked up tight and wrapped with cloth. When your mom saw it, her face turned pale and she said, 'Leave it for him, when he's old enough. He'll understand.' So, you still have it?" "Still do, but no one's ever been able to open it. The lock's rusted shut. No matter how hard you twist, it won't budge." "Can I see it? Come to my house. I keep it in the glass cabinet, under the altar." The path to Mrs. Tam's house passed through sugarcane fields. The wind rustled through the leaves, sounding like whispers. As they stepped through the gate, a white cat leapt out from the corner of the house and stared at Tin. "Don't mind it. It always stares at strangers like that." Mrs. Tam opened the cabinet and pulled out an old wooden box, about the size of a notebook. On the lid was a strange carved symbol, something that didn't look like any Vietnamese script. "Here it is. This, my dad left it behind?" "I don't know, but when your mom saw it, she nearly fainted on the spot. Keep it. Don't rush to open it. Wait until the moment you truly want to know, and then open it with your own hands." "Thank you, Mrs. Tam." Tin held the box in his hands. The wooden lid was unusually cold. As he placed it into his backpack, a faint creak echoed. The source was unclear. That night, lying in the old house, he placed the box on the table and stared at it for a long time. The night light cast a warm, dim glow. The air in the room felt thick. Click. The box gave a slight shudder. He jolted upright and switched on the main light. The box was still there, motionless. Tin exhaled hard and mumbled a sentence without knowing why it came out of his mouth. "Dad, if there's something you want me to know, show me?" A breeze slipped through the window crack. The light went out. The bulb flickered once, then went still. The evening wind howled through the fields. Clouds hovered low above the rice paddies. The path leading to the canal behind the house had turned soft and slippery after an early rain. Ben wore a headlamp and held a shovel. Tin carried a small backpack. Inside it the wooden box and the old silver necklace. "Remember coming out here to catch frogs at night when we were kids?" "I do. Fell into the canal once and Mom nearly beat my butt swollen." "Coming back now, feels eerily quiet, doesn't it? Quiet in a strange way." "Yeah, like the place knows someone's about to disturb it." They walked along a stretch of bamboo where the land rose slightly above the fields. Grass thick up to the knees. Ben stopped and pointed his light down. The small mound had no tombstone. No markings. Just a few rocks along the edge as if someone had once sat there. This is it. You're sure? The hand-drawn map from your mom matches exactly. I counted 9 steps from the bamboo root. Tin took a deep breath. His chest felt heavy, like a stone. The wind cut through his jacket, sending a chill down his spine. Let's begin. All right, but listen, if anything strange happens, we stop. No pushing it. Ben began digging through the thick grass. The shovel hit the ground with a dull thud, occasionally striking stone. With every scoop, the damp scent of earth grew stronger. Tin stood nearby, flashlight pointed downward. Do you hear that? Like metal scraping. Yeah, I hear it too. Ben dug a few more times until a warped, rotting wooden plank appeared. A coffin? Not sure. Might just be a wooden lid. Shine your light closer. Tin swept the beam across it. The plank had strange scratch marks, as if someone had clawed it from the inside. A long, thin, perfectly straight line, like a palm crease. There's writing. What does it say? I think it says, "Don't open." Ben looked at Tin. Both of them fell silent. The wind rushed through the bamboo, whistling like a distant wail. You still want to go on? We've come this far. I have to know. Then don't touch it directly. I'll pry it up. Ben carefully lifted the wooden lid with the shovel. It creaked and popped open on one side. A musty stench wafted up, like an old raincoat left in storage too long. Tin leaned in, peering inside. No body, no bones, just a bundle of long black hair, tied with a faded red ribbon. It's hair. You sure it's not rope? No, it's real hair. Ben reached in, cautiously pulling out the bundle. At the bottom of the box, there was another object. What's that? A wooden comb. Looks like there's writing on it. Tin gently wiped it. Letters emerged, old and faint. Bay, loan. Tin's hand trembled as he backed away. My parents' names. I know. So, is this my dad's resting place? No, can't be. It's a woman's hair, a woman's comb, and your mom didn't die here. Then who is buried here? Maybe the third person. You mean someone connected to your father's disappearance? The wind howled louder. Tin's flashlight flickered. The beam swept across the bamboo and caught a glint of something. Did someone just walk by? No, it's just you and me. I saw a figure. White dress. Couldn't see the face. Ben swung his light toward the spot. Nothing there, but the ground beside the mound had sunken slightly, like someone had been standing there and just walked away. Let's cover it back up. I don't think we should go further. Agreed. I'm feeling it too. We've done enough. They silently filled the hole. Every shovel of dirt felt heavier now. The soil was colder than before. When the hair bundle was buried again, the wind stopped completely. Ben stood up, brushed off his hands, and exhaled. Maybe something's still watching over this place. But I still don't get it. Why would my mom draw the map and say nothing? Maybe she didn't really know who was buried here, but she still felt you needed to see it. You think she was led here too? Or maybe she once knew a secret and carried it to her grave. Tin sat down on the ground. His fingers gripped the necklace tight. His eyes locked on the bamboo ahead. I'll find out. Find what? Who that person is, and why my father disappeared. Ben stayed quiet for a moment, then spoke slowly. If you want to dig deeper, just remember this. Some truths aren't kept silent out of fear, but because people want to preserve what little piece is left. The sky began to brighten. A rooster crowed faintly in the distance. Tin stepped away from the mound without looking back. In the wind, a faint voice whispered, "Go home." The next afternoon, the heat was strange and heavy. No wind. The sun baked the old tiled roof like fire. Tin sat in the kitchen, holding the wooden box. It was just as before, dry wood. A rusted lock, completely sealed. The silver necklace lay beside it. On the table was an old photo of his father, stern face. Eyes burdened, as if he had known something was coming. Footsteps in sandals flapped across the yard. Anyone home? Aunt too? Is that you? Yeah, heard you came back a few days ago. Been busy, but I finally found time to visit. Come in, Aunt. It's scorching out. I came to tell you something, but I don't know if you'll believe it. Please go ahead. Back when your mom was still alive. Once she had a bad fever and was in and out of consciousness for a couple days. I stayed to take care of her. And she kept talking in her sleep. What did she say? She kept saying names. Nah, let him go, don't take him with you. And at one point, she whispered, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to keep him, for our son. Nah? Yeah, that name. I'd heard it before. Back then, there was a woman named Nah in the village down the road. She was beautiful. Everyone stared wherever she went. But there was something odd about her, she never spoke to anyone. Why? People said she was cursed. Couldn't speak. Anyone who got close to her ended up unlucky. Only your father dared go near. And what happened? After your father disappeared, she vanished too. No one found her. Her house was empty. Some said they saw her walk into the fields late one night. Then nothing. Gone. My mom knew? Of course. She once cried. Cried like someone who knew she'd already lost. Tin pressed his hand lightly against the box lid. The wood felt cold beneath his fingers. The name, Nah, repeated in his mind like a drifting echo that wouldn't leave. Do you still remember her face? I do. I still have a photo from someone's wedding where we were both in it. I'll go dig it up for you when I get home. Thank you. Aunt 2 stood up and gently patted Tin on the shoulder. Maybe the reason you found that strange grave was to bring her back. Not to stir up old resentment. You mean? You don't need to know who lies beneath. Just know, she's waiting for someone to return her to the right place. After she left, Tin sat in silence for a long while. The sun spilled golden light across the yard. Tree shadows tilted gently across the doorstep. He opened his phone, scrolling through old messages from his mother. There was one from 2 years ago. Exactly 1 week before she passed. If you ever return, remember to ask Mrs. Tam, and please, don't hate anyone, okay? He read it over and over. The words, don't hate anyone, felt like a quiet, unspoken apology. That evening, he stopped by Mrs. Tam's house again. The oil lamp flickered on the altar. She was still sitting there, wrapping betel leaves like always. Mrs. Tam, I want to ask about my mother. I knew you'd ask eventually. Did my mom know about my father and the woman named Nah? She did, but she never told anyone. Once, she said to me, I love him, but I know he owes someone else a love he hasn't paid back. Did my mom ever meet that woman? Just once. She was holding you, still small. They ran into her at the market. The woman didn't say anything, just looked at you. Her eyes were red. And then, your mom turned around and walked away. Didn't say a word. Do you think my mom ever did anything to her? No, your mother wasn't cruel, but she was fragile. She kept your father with love, while the other woman kept him with silence. Tin said nothing. His fingers traced the wooden prayer beads hanging on the wall. Mrs. Tam looked at him and spoke slowly. You know why that box won't open? Because the lock is rusted? No, because you haven't truly tried to open it with your heart. What do you mean? You're searching for truth to explain things. But maybe what you're really looking for is forgiveness. Tin sighed. The weight in his chest sank to his stomach. He picked up the box and placed it over his heart. Dad, if neither mom, I nor she could keep you, then tell me. What do you want? The ceiling fan creaked softly above. The box remained silent, but the lamp flickered once. Mrs. Tam turned her face away and clicked her tongue. Maybe all she ever wanted was someone to light her incense. Just one stick, that would be enough. She? The one in the dark. Early morning, dew still clung to the grass tips. The smell of mud after the rain hadn't fully faded, and faint on the breeze was the scent of incense burning somewhere nearby. Tin stepped into the yard, his eyes fixed on the patch of land behind the house, where the old well used to be. Now it was just a flat stretch of earth, with sparse grass growing over it. He walked closer. At his feet were a few shallow indentations. It wasn't clear if they were footprints or claw marks. He bent down and touched one, startled to find the soil damp. It had been sunny the entire day before. A soft cough came from outside the gate. You can come in. The gate's not locked. A woman's voice answered gently. I won't come in. I'm fine watching from here. Tin turned. A woman in a white silk shirt and conical hat stood in the shade of the beetle palms. Her face was hidden. Only her hands could be seen, softly gripping the straps of her hat. Are you looking for someone? I'm not looking for anyone. Just watching. Do I know you? You did, a long time ago. But I guess you've forgotten. What's your name? Nah. Tin froze. A breeze swept past his back. A chill rose along his spine. He took a few steps forward. Did you know my father? I did. Back then, he used to fetch water from the well. I stood across the road, watching. Once, he saw me. He didn't shout. He just smiled. Then, why didn't you come closer? Coming closer would have broken the fate. Were you the woman my mother saw at the market? Yes. That day I only wanted to see his child. Me? Yes. But I was scared. I looked, then left. Tin fell silent. His hand gripped the small bracelet he'd worn since childhood, a keepsake his mother left behind. Do you know how my father died? I can't say for sure. But on the last day, he stood by the well, looking down, for a long time, saying nothing. Then he turned away and never came back. How do you know? I was standing here, just like now. The wind picked up. The palms cast long shadows across the ground. Tin looked up. She was gone. He ran out. Nothing. No footprints. No sound. Only the faint scent of incense in the breeze near the gate. He turned back and collapsed onto the doorstep. His phone buzzed. A message from Aunt 2. Found the photo. I'm bringing it over. 10 minutes later, Aunt 2 arrived, holding an old photo. The colors had faded, corners curled. 5 people stood in it: Tin's father, his mother, Mrs. Tam, an unrecognized man, and a woman in white, long hair, standing at the end. Here, that girl's Nah. She never took photos, so this one's rare. Is she still alive? I don't know. After your father disappeared, she sold her house and moved away. No one knows where. If she's not dead, then who did I see this morning? Aunt 2 looked up, her gaze lingering long. She pulled out a stick of incense from her shirt pocket and handed it to Tin. Stick it into the ground where the well used to be. Whoever it is, deserves 1 incense stick to settle the fate in the debt. Tin took the incense, walked slowly to the flat patch of ground, planted it. No wind, no sound, but the smoke rose straight up, as if someone were standing there. Catching it, he turned back inside and looked at the photo again. The woman's eyes in the picture, though blurry, still held a direct gaze toward the lens. Not angry, not bitter, just sad and unmistakably clear. That night, Tin dreamt of standing in the middle of a field. A woman in white stood some distance away, her face unclear, but her eyes never looked away from him. He walked closer. Her hand reached out and gently clasped his wrist. A voice came softly in the dream, gentle, like a breeze. I don't need to be remembered, only to be understood. That afternoon, the sun was blazing. Tin sat in his room, the fan spinning steadily, yet sweat still gathered at the back of his neck. The wooden box lay in front of him, still locked tight like it had been for days. But this time, he didn't try to force it open. He simply rested 2 fingers gently on the lid, closed his eyes, and exhaled. If there's anything inside, let me know. I'm not looking to blame anyone. I just want to understand. A faint click sounded. Tin opened his eyes. The rusted lock had popped open. He froze, hands trembling. He slowly lifted the lid. Inside, there was no gold, no strange relics, just a folded piece of yellowed paper and a small red cloth wrapping something round and tiny. He unfolded the letter first. The handwriting was familiar. His mother's. Tin, if you're reading this letter, it means you've grown up and are brave enough to seek the truth. Your father didn't leave. He didn't betray anyone. He was held back. There was a woman who loved him in a very different way. She didn't hurt anyone, but she also wouldn't let go. I used to resent her, but eventually, I realized you can't keep someone through hatred. I didn't win. I only asked to raise my child in peace. This box, I kept it, not for you to be angry, but for you to understand. If you can forgive, light her a stick of incense. If you love your father, let him rest. Love always. Mom. By the end of the letter, Tin's eyes burned. He opened the red cloth. Inside was a small old silver ring, engraved faintly inside with the letters, Bay, N. Tin sat still for a long time. From the yard came a loud voice. "Anyone home?" He rushed out. An old man with a thin frame, leaning on a bamboo cane, stood beneath the palm trees. "Yes, sir? You were calling me?" "Yeah, you're Bay's son, aren't you?" "That's right. How do you know?" "I'm Lan. I used to be a mason. I built that old well behind your house. I was the last person to see your father the night he disappeared." "What did you say?" "I saw him, but I didn't tell anyone. I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That night, I was walking home drunk through the fields. It was around 1 in the morning. I saw him standing by the well, wearing a white shirt, holding something. He just stared down into the well, not moving." "Then what?" "There was a woman standing not far away, wearing a long white dress, long hair. She didn't approach, just stood there, watching him. Then he turned around and walked toward the bamboo grove." "Did you see her face?" "No, but her eyes were unnaturally bright, like they pierced right through you." "And you just went home?" "I was frozen in place. I only ran once, they were gone. And the next morning, he'd vanished." "Do you think my dad was killed?" "No, I think he chose to leave. But it was the kind of leaving with no path back." "You mean he was pulled away?" "Yeah, not by hands, but by feelings." "Did you tell anyone?" "No. Your mother came to ask me once, but I kept quiet. I didn't want to break her heart even more." Tin bowed his head. The scent of incense from his mother's altar drifted in on a soft breeze. "Thank you. Thanks to you, I understand another piece. So what now?" "I'm going to find that woman, not to confront her, but to offer incense. If you do that, your father would be proud." Mr. Lan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small item, wrapped in red cloth, identical to the one in Tin's box. "Your mother gave me this once. Told me if someone ever came looking, to hand it over. Inside is a small key. It opens an old wooden compartment at the village shrine. She said there's something important in there." "What is it?" "I never dared open it. Now it's yours." Tin accepted it, his grip tightened around it. That evening, he went to the village shrine. Behind the altar, a small wooden compartment lay buried under dust. He used the key to unlock it. Inside was a thin school notebook, the pages fragile and handwritten. The first page bore a large title, Diary of Na, the girl who loved in silence. Tin sat in the back hall of the village shrine. Sunlight streamed through the old tiled roof, casting golden streaks across the brick floor. The small notebook rested in his palm, its pages yellowed with time, thin and stuck together as if no one had dared open them. He gently turned to the first page. The handwriting was slanted, soft, written in faded purple ink. The first line made Tin freeze. "I am Na. I cannot speak, but I can still write." The next page was a long passage. He read slowly, as if listening to her voice speaking directly to him. "People called me the mute girl. No one asked for my name. No one knew what I liked. The only person who ever looked at me without turning away was him, the man with eyes like twilight. Standing by the well in front of my house. He used to bathe at the well in the late afternoons. Every time I passed by, he would nod. One time, he placed his towel on the well's edge and walked away. I picked it up and smelled the scent of soap. From that moment, I kept it. I knew he had a wife, a child, but I didn't want to take him. I only wanted to watch from afar." Tin turned the page, each sentence cut into him like a quiet, aching blade. "One time, I overheard someone say his mother was very strict. I knew I didn't stand a chance. But I also knew that some love doesn't need to be returned, it only needs to be kept." I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. All I could do was right here. The day he disappeared, I stood across the field. He was by the well, alone. The wind was still, the sky silent. He didn't look back, but I knew he knew I was there. After that night, I came down with a fever. A few days later, I packed my things and left. Tin stopped reading. His hands trembled. He closed the notebook and held it tightly to his chest. As he did, his hand brushed against a loose slip of paper tucked into the back cover. It was a small note, scribbled in blue ink. "If anyone is his child, please don't hate me. I didn't steal anyone's husband. I didn't interfere. I just loved, in the only way someone without a voice could." Tin closed his eyes. A tear slid silently down his cheek. Wind passed through the cracks in the shrine walls, carrying the faint scent of beetle flowers. He pulled the old silver necklace from his pocket and looped it through the corner of the notebook, as if to quietly seal away what had long been left unspoken. That afternoon, he returned to the old well site behind the house. He placed the notebook and a stick of incense on the ground. "Miss Na, I don't hate you. Just like my mother. I believe we were all just standing behind a man who remained silent for too long." He lit the incense and stuck it in the earth. The smoke rose straight up, thin as a strand of hair. He watched it for a long while, then turned and walked away. Night came swiftly. A crescent moon cast its pale light against the wall. Tin lay on his side in bed, eyes closed but mind still turning with the weight of those voiceless words. Outside, the breeze sounded like fabric brushing softly past the porch. A dream came. In it, Tin was a child again, playing beside the well. A woman in white, her hair tied neatly behind her neck, stood behind him. She didn't speak. She simply placed her hand gently on his head. When he turned around, she was gone. All that remained were her eyes. So familiar, so sorrowful, but never resentful. The sky was overcast. Thick gray clouds hung like a cloth draped over the village fields. Tin sat on a bamboo chair under the porch roof, the diary of Na still in his hands. Every word she had written seemed to echo endlessly in his mind. "Giving the dead a piece of peace, while I sit here tangled like thread." The sound of a motorbike stopped at the gate. Bin walked in, holding a paper envelope. "I found this in some old records. Not sure if it matters, but you should see it." "What is it?" "An administrative report from 1997. A woman was cited for trespassing behind the village shrine at midnight. Her name was Na." "It was her?" "Yeah, but the strange thing is, the report says, Ms. Na claimed she came to leave behind something belonging to the deceased. It must not be opened, except by his blood child. The wooden box, maybe, could also be the diary." Tin stayed quiet. A new weight sank into him. "Do you think my mom knew everything and just chose silence?" "I think so. You read her letter, didn't you? She knew, but she never blamed anyone. That's strength. Yeah, strong enough to choose forgiveness instead of digging up everything." Tin looked toward the well. The patch of ground was still perfectly flat. Not a blade of grass stirred. Then he said, "I'm thinking of rebuilding the well cover. Not to open it, just to seal it properly. For Dad, for her, for Mom." Bin nodded. "Do it. If you need help, call me." They sat in silence for a while. Bin lowered himself onto the yard tiles, pulled out a cigarette, and lit it. "You ever wonder what the dead need? I think they need to be understood. And the living? To keep living, without carrying resentment." Tin reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver ring he had found in the box. He placed it on his palm and stared at it for a long time. "I'll keep it, not because it's worth anything, but because it's what's left of a promise never fulfilled." Rain began to fall lightly. The two of them sat under the porch, watching the thin veil of water drift steadily down the steps. Tin opened his phone and scrolled back to his mother's final message. Just 5 words. "Don't live to blame anyone." That evening, Tin went behind the house alone. He built a new cover over the well. Using ironwood, he painted it a dark brown with his own hands. At the center, he mounted a small sign. "Each person carries a sorrow. May all find peace." When he was done, he pressed his hands together and stood in silence. A breeze brushed the back of his neck, cool and light, like someone stroking his hair. That night, for the first time in many days, Tin slept soundly. In his dream, he saw his mother, his father, and a woman in a white dress standing together. No one spoke, but they all smiled. As Tin walked toward them, his mother nodded. The woman in white took a step back, placed her palms together, and bowed her head. And his father simply placed a hand on his shoulder, his eyes no longer sad, but at peace. On the final morning before leaving his hometown, Tin tidied up the old house. He propped the wobbly-legged wooden table with a brick, wiped down the dusty bamboo chairs until the reddish brown beneath revealed itself again. On the altar, His mother's memorial photo stood at the center. The sides were empty. He placed a small wooden frame beside it. Inside was the only clear photo he had left of his father's face. His hand paused when he picked up another old photo, the one of his father, mother, and a woman standing farther away. Long hair, white dress. The picture had been tucked deep inside one of his mother's old book boxes. On the back were a few smudged words in faded purple ink. Though not under one roof, still part of one life. He held the frame and stared for a long time. There were the soft steps of sandals outside. Mrs. Tam Hong stepped in, leaning on her cane, holding a paper bundle wrapped in brown cloth. "What are you bringing?" "Something to pass on. Your mother left it with me. Said only to give it to you when you were about to leave town." "What's inside?" "Photos. The ones your mother kept hidden very carefully." He unwrapped it. Inside were one photo of his father sitting beside the well, smiling faintly. Another of Tin as a child, standing between his parents. And a rare one, his father, mother, and the woman named Na, all in the same frame, taken during an old ancestral gathering. My mom kept these? Every single one, but hidden, not to dwell on the past, but to wait until her son was old enough to see them, without blame. Tin looked at each photo, his hands slightly trembling. "Do you think I should place Dad's picture alongside Mom's on the altar?" "I think you should. Once someone returns to the earth, they all become part of the past. And the past doesn't take sides." Tin nodded. He placed his father's photo beside his mother's. Something inside him lifted, as if a tight knot had loosened. He stepped out back and looked across the fields, toward the place where the old well once was, where he had now rebuilt the cover and set a small wooden plaque. "Those who once loved, may rest. Those who once let go, may rest too." That afternoon, he went to the bus station. Just before boarding, Ben rushed over, handing him a newly printed photo. "What's this?" "I combined 3 of the old pictures. Take a look." The photo showed 3 figures, his father, mother, and little Tin, sitting in front of the old house. Behind them, in the doorway, was the faint silhouette of a woman standing quietly. "I can't see her face clearly." "You don't need to. Just knowing she once stood there. And now, she's no longer there." Tin clutched the photo to his chest, eyes stinging. "Thank you for walking with me from the beginning." "Yeah, I walked so you wouldn't have to walk alone." The bus pulled away. Tin looked back through the window. The row of palm trees, the old gate, the black tiled roof, all slowly receded, then disappeared. But in his heart, there was no longer any weight. That night, back in the city, Tin placed the photo frame on his desk. He turned on the warm yellow lamp and looked at it for a long time. Before turning off the light, he whispered, "Dad, Mom, and you too. I'm home now. You're all at peace. And so am I." In the darkness, the phone screen flickered faintly. No message, no call, just a brief glimmer of light, enough to reveal that the family photo now fit perfectly. No empty space left. On his final afternoon in the village, the sky held neither sun nor rain, just a gentle breeze weaving through the row of palm trees at the front gate. After finishing the last bit of cleaning in the house, Tin sat quietly on the porch. In his hands was a newly framed photo, a composite of 3 old ones, his father, his mother, and little Tin. Behind them stood the old house, the stone well, and the faint shadow of a woman in the doorway, her face unclear, her figure blurred, only the long hair and a sideways gaze visible, as if waiting for something that never came. He wiped the frame one last time, then placed it on the altar beside his mother's photo. On the other side was his father's. 3 people, 3 positions, now together again, as if they had never parted. The sound of a motorbike came from the end of the alley. Ben stopped by, didn't say much, he just looked, then nodded. Tin nodded back. The 2 men sat silently on the front steps, no cigarettes, no coffee, only the soft scent of burning straw drifting from the neighbor's house, like the smell of old clothes stored too long in a wooden chest. Evening fell. Tin walked out to the well, placed a single white flower on the newly painted wooden cover. His hand touched the line he had carved himself. Those who once loved are at peace. Those who once let go are at peace too. He said nothing, asked for nothing, just bowed his head and closed his eyes. There were no questions left in his heart. No one left to blame. What he didn't understand, he would let the wind understand. Those who had gone, he would let the earth keep. That night, he boarded the bus back to the city. He didn't sleep the entire ride. The headlights swept past bushes and curved roads. No dreams played in his mind, just the image of his mother's gentle smile. His father sitting in stillness. And Na, the woman who never spoke, leaving behind a gaze clearer than any words. On the first night back in his old apartment in Saigon, Tin turned on the soft yellow light and hung the family photo on the wall above his desk. Not too high, not next to the altar, just eye level. He sat down, looked at it for a long time. No sighs, no tears, just a quiet sentence. Dad, Mom, and you too. You're all at peace now. And so am I. If you're still here, listening to the very end, then perhaps, somewhere in this story, you found a part of your own memory. Thank you for walking through all 10 chapters with me, for hearing the words no one ever said, seeing the glances no one ever named, and remembering those who, though gone, still live quietly in the hearts of the living. If something in this touched your heart, don't hesitate to leave a comment, or just type, I listened to it all. That's enough for me to know you were meant to hear this. See you again in the next story, one just as ordinary, just as real, and maybe just as unexplainable.